So Canelo Alvarez KO'd Sergey Kovalev in the 11th round. We'll take a quick look at how the knockout happened, then explain how he got there. So it all starts off with Canelo cutting off the ring and cornering Kovalev, and we see him punch his way to the inside as Kovalev shells up. So from there we see Canelo use his forearm on the inside to prevent Kovalev from clinching, as well as blind him from seeing his right hand, and create space so that he could punch with his right hand. And this is perfectly legal. You could control your opponent with your forearm as long as it's not excessive. And there we see Canelo shoot the chopping right hand that hurts Kovalev, and this is really what starts it all. Kovalev plays it off pretty well. He has his poker face but is really rocked by this punch. So we see Canelo continue to pressure Kovalev down to the ropes, and he uses his signature feint here to get Kovalev into the high guard, and that's where he flares his right hand to feint the right hand to the head, and simultaneously winds up his left hook down low to feint the left hook to the body. And this gets Kovalev into the high guard. But the thing about the high guard is that it's only designed to block punches coming straight at you, so you're open from around the sides or around your flanks. So Canelo at the last second changes up his attack when he sees Kovalev go into the high guard by changing his left hook to the head, and this is what really rocks Kovalev here. So how exactly did we get here? I'm really only going to focus on a few things I saw Canelo do throughout the fight, since I really didn't find anything Kovalev did noteworthy beyond controlling the distance with his lead hand. So something Canelo really impressed me with lately is how he safely cuts the distance on his longer opponents using his lead foot. It seems that Canelo has developed this since his first fight with Triple G, which has allowed him to pressure his opponents more and stand his ground more without sacrificing defense. He did this in the rematch with Triple G as well as against Jacobs, and he did it again in this fight against Kovalev. So allow me to explain. The key to this is that the distance between two fighters is the distance between each other's lead foot. It's not the gloves, it's not the head, since you could position your head and gloves in different ways without moving your lead foot. Anyways, go check out Wilson Caden's video on distance deception for a more in-depth explanation. But notice the line between Canelo and Kovalev's lead foot shows that Canelo is not in his punching range, but Kovalev is in his punching range. So Canelo is going to want to get into his punching range, but not walk into a punch at the same time. So what does he do? Notice Canelo steps his lead foot only into punching range, his punching range, without bringing his whole body forward. This brings him into his punching range, but allows him to maintain enough distance so that he could see a punch coming. Notice that the green line, the distance of it is now much shorter than it was before. And we see when Kovalev tries to jab him for stepping into range, Canelo is able to pick off the jab and remain defensively responsible. As early as round 1, once Canelo felt that Kovalev had nothing but a weak, pity-pat jab, Canelo switched from being mobile and began to pressure Kovalev with his lead foot and force Kovalev to throw more punches so that he could counter him. I mentioned that Canelo has showed improvements since his first fight with Triple G. The biggest change since that fight is a seeming change from a boxer-puncher to a counter-punching pressure fighter. The counter-punching pressure fighter style seems to be one of, if not the most effective style in today's landscape, with guys like Errol Spence, Golovkin, and most notably Vasily Lomachenko being counter-punching pressure fighters. Notice here how Canelo walks into his punching range with his guard up high. This pressures Kovalev to throw to get Canelo off of him, but he resorts to this weak, barely committed right hand that Canelo is easily able to slip and counter. Once again, we see Canelo walk right into his punching range with his guard up high, and Kovalev tries to get him off of him with this weak right hand that Canelo is easily able to catch and counter with this left hook that grazes Kovalev. And just seconds later, Kovalev throws another weak pity-pat right hand that Canelo easily just catches and counters with another left hook. Once again, Canelo walks right into his range, and Kovalev tries to keep him off of him by using his lead hand to keep him at bay, and then you see another weak pity-pat right hand that Canelo's able to time because he's gotten the feeling for it. Now, I've just shown several examples of Kovalev getting countered throwing soft, non-Kovalev-esque punches. I could gather many more examples and go on, as this was the story of the fight, but it was pretty clear Kovalev just isn't the same as he was a few years ago. And this is just to add to my point. Look at how Canelo is just walking down Kovalev, just slipping his jabs no problem. And he just walks into his range and is able to just jab him clean like this. This is something that Andre Ward, Bernard Hopkins, John Pascal, none of them were able to just do this to Kovalev. Walk him down and easily jab him and out jab him, when Kovalev's main game, his best aspect of his game, is his jab and countering jabs with his right hand. It was really just quite shocking. And that's it, that's the breakdown. I see a lot of people have Kovalev winning after 10 rounds. Now, I didn't score the fight watching it live, but I'm going to give my thoughts on it real quick. I'm usually one to favor punch output and landed punches most when it comes to scoring, because I don't like to factor in physical attributes like favoring the fighter with more power or favoring the fighter who's moving forward more because it's just naturally bigger. And that's because there's nothing you could do to control those things. You shouldn't lose the decision automatically just because you have less punching power or can't walk through punches as well as your opponent. Boxing is a sport. It should be whoever finds a way to touch their opponent more should win. Hit and don't get hit. That being said, when watching the fight live, yes, Kovalev was the busier fighter throwing more punches. However, he wasn't really committing to anything. He was really just tapping at Canelo's gloves with a weak jab. Now, that's all fine and good. I would have easily given Kovalev every single round if it wasn't for the fact that every now and then Canelo would clip Kovalev clean just about every time he decided to throw. I liked Kovalev's activity, but it was really hard for me to give him some rounds when very few of his weak jabs actually connected on Canelo, and Canelo would snap Kovalev's head back a few times per round. Don't close the video yet, don't fucking close the video, I'm not done yet. There's a lot I want to talk about regarding this outcome. And just as I said in my preview video of this fight, I mentioned that this reminded me of Miguel Cotto versus Sergio Martinez and Manny Pacquiao versus Miguel Cotto, and that a superstar was moving up 2 divisions to fight a champion coming off of a tough fight. We'll add to that list Manny Pacquiao versus Oscar De La Hoya. Even though that one wasn't a championship fight, I still had flashbacks to that fight because Kovalev didn't look like himself versus Canelo, just like Oscar didn't look like himself versus Manny. Kovalev and Oscar looked like shells of themselves against a superstar moving up 2 divisions, and in both cases there was not a catch weight. I'm not sure if Oscar had the rehydration clause like Kovalev, but either way I don't think it mattered. Anyway, I'm not taking anything away from Canelo's win. Even though Kovalev didn't look like himself, he didn't look good at all, it's not like there was a catchweight to raise an excuse. Only a rehydration clause that I really don't think mattered since Kovalev isn't even a huge light heavyweight. So that being said, I believe this is a legitimate, high quality win for Canelo. And holy shit, I finally got to the point. A lot of people out there making videos saying this is not a credible win for Canelo. The fight was fixed, the fight was fishy, whatever. This was definitely fair game and a very good win for Canelo. And with that being said, I know this is going to piss off a lot of people out there, and I'm not sorry, but you have to put Canelo as number 1 pound for pound now. Wait, don't close the video yet, let me explain. So what exactly is pound for pound? It's some hypothetical question asking who would be the best if size and weight didn't matter. Who would be the best regardless of weight class? Well, we can all argue all day on who has the best skills and use the eye test, but the only fighters who have actually proven they succeed regardless of weight class are those who actually have gone and won titles in multiple weight classes. We actually have factual evidence that they should be up there because they beat champions in other weight classes when size does matter instead of a hypothetical situation where it doesn't matter. Canelo is now a 4-division champion without any recent losses and fought at all of those weights within the last few years against quality opposition. Terence Crawford should also be up there as a 3-division champion, regardless of what you think of his competition. Lomachenko, another one as a 3-division champion against strong opposition, and I believe Mikey Garcia should be up there too as a 4-division champion. Why isn't he up there? He fought strong opposition and only has 1 loss, going for his 5th division. And regarding Errol Spence, yes, he has skills that hypothetically make us think he should be up there, and it helps that he's a unified champ in a deep division. However, he's only proven himself in one division so far, and that hurts him in my eyes. We could do the eye test all day on him, and until he proves himself in multiple divisions, it's all hypothetical. And I know what you're thinking, if multiple divisions is all that matters, then why isn't Pacquiao number one? Why isn't he number one, right? He's got 8 divisions. Well, no. It's because it's been too long since he's fought in multiple divisions. The recent losses to his career and the fact that he's just way past his prime takes him down the ranks. Pacquiao can't just be number one pound for pound forever as long as he's active. That was 10 years ago. Similarly, Adrian Broner isn't up there despite being a 4-division champion because of all the losses recently, and it's just been too long since he even won a title. So that's why he wouldn't be up there, and that's why, weight divisions isn't the only thing that factors into that. And that's all I have to say. You could close out the video now. In case you're still here, consider subscribing to see more content like this in the near future. If you're some stinky boomer who hates everything I just said, consider subscribing as well so you could hate more of what I have to say. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.